Good morning, everyone. It's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. So today we are going to continue trucking along. So I have a couple more card ideas I want to share featuring the Trucking Along bundle from Stampin' Up. So this is an online exclusive. So you can only find it in the online exclusive section of the Stampin' Up store. So I'm going to share six different card ideas, and I'll walk you through three of them here on this live. So good morning, everybody. So this is what we're going to focus on, and I just love this little truck. I just think it's so cute. And then there's a variety of different things that you can create with this, but we're going to focus on Christmas cards. You can make really cards for any occasion. And the designer paper that I'm using is from the Joy of Christmas Designer Series paper pack. So I just really like that, plaid look with these cards. So good morning, everybody. So we'll just jump right in and get started with these right away. So I have a little fun fold here that I'll show you how to make. And then I have two very pretty simple layouts that I'm going to be using. And you can use these layouts with really any supplies that you have. So if you don't have the Trucking Along bundle, just create a different focal point and use different paper. So these card layouts are very versatile. So this is the bundle that I'm using. It's called Trucking Along, and obviously it has this little truck. And then it has a variety of other images in it that you can use, like I said, to create cards for any occasion. So although I'm focusing on Christmas cards, you can create so much more with this bundle. And the bundle comes with a punch, and I don't think I brought it out. What did I do with my punch? Here it is. So it comes with a little truck builder punch, so you can punch out a variety of different things here to add to your truck, but I just did basic stamping. I didn't punch out all these other little pieces. I just stamped my truck. So the first thing I want to show you how to do is stamp the truck. So I'm going to use a little mat here. Let's see if I can get this off. And I'm going to show you how to put this truck together because it does have a couple little pieces. Now, I like to use early espresso to do my outline stamping. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is just stamp the outline of the truck. So let's get this on here. Oh, and of course I don't do it right. Let's try it again. Two sides. Sometimes I think I push too hard. Sometimes I don't push hard enough. And this one I didn't push hard enough again, but it'll work. Okay. So then let's get the red. See, the nice thing is we have overlay stamp, so you won't even really notice. So let's see if I can stamp the red. So I have real red here. Sometimes it's hard to do this on live because I have a camera right in front of me. There, you get the idea. And then it has these little wheels. And again, I like to use early espresso. And you can stamp like the color right on the wheels. So that kind of gives you an idea of how the truck looks. It stamps very dark when you first stamp it, but I have one that's already done because I knew I wasn't going to push hard enough. So I have one that's already done. You can see it lightens up a lot um, once once you let it dry. But I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to stamp my tree right away. So you can stamp your tree. I'm just going to show you that you can stamp your tree right in the bed of the truck, just like this. And then you can add your color. Let me move this. So it's like a two-step stamping. You stamp your outline and then you add your color. So I'm going to use some garden green here. So you can do it just like that. Or what I did for the cards that I'm sharing today is I stamped it separately. And then I cut it out with a scissors because I wanted to pop my truck up on the cards. And so I wanted to put it in the bed of the truck, but I wanted to pop it up on, the card. So what I'm going to do is cut this out really quick. So let me move this. It's pretty easy to cut out. Let's just cut this off. So basically what I did is just created a little tab, and I just kind of went around. I'll show you how I created the tab, but I just kind of went around, and I like to move my paper, not necessarily my scissors. That's how you get a good cut. And we'll just go around like this. And then we'll come in a little bit. And then I made this little tab so that I could adhere it to the truck. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the truck. And then the tree will fit right in the bed of the truck. And you can just adhere it with dimensionals. So let me grab a couple here. Let's line that up again. That looks pretty good. So then I just stick it on with some dimensionals. And that's how I create my popped up truck. Let's add another one, squeeze another one in there. Okay. Whoop. So now I have my little truck and I'm all ready to create my card. So I started with a piece of early espresso cardstock for the base of the card. So it's just your standard card base. I like to create a 5.5 by 8.5 and score it in the middle at 4.25. That's the standard card base that I use. And then I cut a piece of designer paper at 1.25 inches by 5.25 inches. So I'm going to put that on the card right away. And that's just going to go on, whoops, that's going to go on the right side. And it's not going to go tight up against the right. I'm going to leave a little bit of space around this piece so you can see that early espresso cardstock. And then I just have a 4 by 5.25 inch piece of white cardstock, and I did a little embossing on it with the Distress Tile embossing folder. Since I'm creating some rustic style cards, I thought I would use this. And then you just want to do a little bit of paper tearing. So I just tore a little bit off the side here, maybe like 3/4 inches or so, maybe a little more, depends on what look you want. So I just wanted a little bit of this designer paper kind of showing through on the side. So that's why I say you can use this layout really with any supplies and create any little focal point. And we'll just overlap this onto our paper, our designer paper, and it gives a really nice background for your card. Then for the focal point, so for the focal point for all of the cards, I created it basically the same way. So I have a little square here. I think this is 2 3/8 by 2 3/8, and then a 2.5 by 2.5 inch piece of early espresso. I created this little square from the designer paper, and I use the Stylish Shapes dies. But if you don't have those dies, you can just create a little square. And I have glue on my finger. Starting out the morning good. And we'll just add this. So you see it comes together pretty good here. So I am going to, actually, let's move this. I'm going to stamp my little greeting right away. Usually I stamp all the greetings so that you don't have to watch me do that, but you get to watch me do that today. So I'm going to use the Christmas greeting, and I'm just stamping it on a 2 3/4 inch long piece of white cardstock. So it's about 1/2 inch wide. So this is a great way to use up scraps. I tend to end up with a lot of white scraps like this that are about a half inch or so wide. And I use them a lot for my greetings. So I just added this right across the bottom of this square piece. And then I just added my truck. So it's a pretty simple design. And it just looks really adorable. I like this little truck. Obviously, it takes a little getting used to stamping those overlays, but I do find that if I use that little mat, they do stamp, the truck does stamp better, just not when I'm live. Okay, so that's what the card looks like. And then you can add the little truck on the inside too. So I just used, the same designer paper, the wood grain, and just added that on the inside. Since I have the red truck, I went with the wood grain instead of this. So that is the card. Very simple, but I just really like the design. I like simple and pretty. All right, let's see what else I got here. Let's do this one. This one's another card where you just do a bunch of layering. If I can grab the right stuff. So I'm using early espresso for all of the cards for my card base. And then the next thing I did is I just cut a 3 3/4 by 5 inch piece of white cardstock. So this one I cut just a quarter inch smaller, so I had a little bit more early espresso showing around the edge, as compared to this card where I have just about a quarter inch showing. And then I got all my pieces all over the place here. Then I cut a 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. So it's the full length of this piece and it's 2 3/4 inches wide. So that I just put right across the center of the card. So I like to add a lot of different layers. And when I'm creating, I end up with pieces like scrap pieces of designer papers. So as I'm creating, I try to use those scrap pieces and do a little bit of layering on the card. So let's add this. So as you're creating, just try to incorporate some of those scraps that you have laying there, while you're creating. I like to use my scraps up right away. All right, so the other pieces, these are all like little scrap pieces that I ended up with. So I have a 2.5 by 3 1/4, so 2.5 by 3 1/4. That's the wood grain paper. And then I have a 2 by 3 3/4 inch piece of white cardstock that I just did some embossing on. And I'm just going to layer these two pieces together. Let's add a little bit more glue. I'm going to layer this on top of that wood grain paper. And then just layer it on the card. Let's add that. So do you see how just that simple layering just gives you a really nice effect on the card? Plus you can use up your scraps, so I like that. All right, and then the next thing I did is I had a little scrap piece of early espresso cardstock. So it was a half inch by 3 inches. And so I decided to layer it, kind of down on the bottom. I was trying to figure out where I wanted it, if I wanted it, kind of looks like a little planter, doesn't it? So I was trying to figure out how to layer it on here, but I still think it looks pretty good. So we're just going to layer this right across. And I like adding those little rustic dots because it just kind of makes it look like, little buttons or then across the bottom here. Just kind of dresses it up a little bit. Let's use some bigger ones this time. I'm going to add a couple of these little dots. So these are the rustic metallic dots. And then we'll add our truck. So I won't torture you and show you how to create the truck again. We'll add this with our little tree. And then we'll stamp our little greeting. So let me grab that. And this one I just pretty much made the full length of my greeting. So let's see what size this is. It's about 2¼ inches long. And then we'll just pop that up on the top. And we'll just put that right about, oh, let's move it up a little bit. Right about there, I guess. And that's it. So I just really like this. I like the truck in red. I'm sure you can use many, many others, but I just like it in red for Christmas. It just looks really nice. And then on the inside, I just did a little designer paper this time, but you could definitely stamp, this truck again on the inside. So, all right, so that's card number 2. Now let's get into the fun fold. So I decided to create just a very simple fun fold. So to create this card, you basically just start with a regular card base, just your standard size card base. And you just cut an inch off the edge. And then you can use that piece to create this piece. But you just cut an inch off the front so that it gives you just a little fun fold flap. And let me grab my bone folder here. And then I just created a bunch of different pieces for this card. So I started with just a 3 by 5¼ inch piece of white cardstock. And then I just embossed it with that same embossing folder, but you can use any embossing folder you want. You can use your favorite embossing folder. This happens to be my favorite embossing folder. So we'll add that. And then let's create our focal point right away. So then I have a 3 3/4 by, let's see, 1¼ inch piece of designer paper. And I just snipped the end into a little banner. So, and I got glue all over it because I have glue all over my fingers. So we're just going to add this to the front. Come on, your brand new bottle. So we're just going to add this right in the center here. And then I have that same focal point that I used on the other card with the 2 pieces. So I have the designer paper and the early espresso cardstock. So we'll do this. And we'll add this right away. And then we'll create our little greeting is just 2½ inches long. And again, it's just a 1/2 inch wide. So, let's get that out of the way. We'll stamp that. Let me close this. And I like to pop this up first because then I know where to put my truck. Otherwise, the truck kind of looks like it's floating. So So I like to kind of line it up with my green. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. I guess she wanted to say hi. She heard me make a noise. So now we're going to add our little truck. And we'll put this right up against the greeting there. So that's basically the outside. And now we'll do the inside. So I'm going to open this up. And what I have for the inside is I have a piece of white cardstock for the inside. But so this is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece. And then I have a 1 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of designer paper. So this paper is going to go on the right side. So I just added it on the right side of this white cardstock because this piece is going to show through to the outside when the card is closed. So now we'll add this. And you still have plenty of room in here to stamp a greeting or write a message or both. So that's what it looks like. And then I used that 1 inch piece that I cut off of here, and I just cut it down a 1/2 inch by 4 3/4 inches to create this little piece for the side of the card here. Again, I kind of like this look with the little buttons on there. So we'll add this. And you just kind of eyeball it in the center. And then you just add a couple little, where did my thing go? Here it is. Then you just add a couple rustic dots. So I always put one on the top, one on the bottom, and then I do my middle one. It's a little bit easier to line everything up or to eyeball it. And there you go. So then you have a really cute little fun fold, just something a little bit different. I know you're getting a little bit of a glare, so I think this is probably my favorite card. I don't know if you have a favorite so far. All right, so let me bring these back. So here's what we created this morning, just a very simple background design. This one we did a little bit more layering. And then this one is the fun fold. Let's see if I can unglare this a little bit. And then here's just a couple other ideas. I put, just a bunch of different layers here. On this card, this one is made up mainly of scraps, except for this big piece here. So I just added this piece. It's like a 2 by 4 1/2 inch piece. And then I added some little smaller pieces and some little scraps. So let's see. We'll move it up a little bit. And then this one I kind of did in landscape style. So instead of doing it in portrait style this way, I just turned the card and just created a bunch of different layers on this card. And then I just stamped the truck this time on a piece of white cardstock instead of punching it out. So like I said, you can punch it out, but then you're going to have to cut out the tree, or you can, leave it as is and just stamp it on a piece of cardstock. And then this one is very similar to the gatefold cards that I put together. So if you saw my video on Wednesday, I had a gatefold design with a very small top. Actually, let me grab it quick. So Wednesday, I put together some gatefold cards, and this is what the gatefold card looks like. So it just opens this direction. So this is the portrait style one. But instead of creating a gatefold card, I just created a regular card, just kind of using the same type of layout, adding a little bit of designer paper at the top and then putting my focal point down there. And I just put a little bit of paper on the inside. So if you didn't see my gatefold video, then definitely go check it out because you can create this gatefold 4 different ways. You basically can decorate it in this direction for portrait style, or you can decorate it in this direction, upside down with the smaller piece on the bottom. And then you can also use the exact same design. So this is the exact same card base, but you can decorate it in landscape style. So you can decorate it so it opens this direction, and you can decorate it either way. So I did put a link to this video in the description. The link to the gatefold video is in the description with this video. So, so yeah, if you are interested in those gatefold cards, you don't have to use the trucking along bundle. You can use those gatefold cards with any supplies that you have on hand. But it was just kind of a fun way to play around with the gatefold and use it in 4 different ways. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed these card ideas. I will get them out on the blog for you today, and I'll get all the measurements out there. But I really enjoyed this particular bundle. I had kind of delayed getting it for a while. I'm like, do I want another truck or not? But I'm glad I got it because I think it's just a really cute bundle, and there's just so many things that you can do with it. So all right, so check out the video on the gatefold cards. Watch for the post on my blog for these cards. And I think that's all I have for you guys today. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and great week. And I'll see you again next week. So take care, everybody. Oh, and have a happy Thanksgiving because actually, I won't see you live until after Thanksgiving. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody. And I will see you again next week. So take care.